Hi there, welcome back to Science Flixtion. My name is Salim Sutterwala, and as always, I'm joined by my friend co-host, Carl Ames. Carl, how's it going tonight?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing this evening, Salim?
I'm good. I am. It's funny. I was looking at randomly at like things that are coming out in the next like few months, and it's going to be jam-packed stuff. Like not only like Marvel and DC related, but like a bunch of other sci-fi related things. Like you got next week, you got Sonic the Hedgehog, or this week I should say, it's coming out, and then we have one of the shows that I'm just gonna quick mention is coming out, like a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna be busy, man.
Yeah, I bought my ticket to Sonic yesterday, and then bought my ticket to Doctor Strange today. So I'm ready to go for Doctor Strange, just in case it sells out, and I don't want to wait till the last minute.
I'll probably buy those tickets too. Cliff, thank you for joining us again, man. Appreciate you hanging with us. Doctor Strange. I'll buy that ticket soon. I'm gonna go watch. I'll probably go watch Sonic by myself again. I like to watch Morbius. I just went like Saturday morning. I was like one of like 3 people in the theater.
Well, you're the only 3 people that whole weekend.
I went like a matinee show. It was like $6 at the Spring Hill Mall Cinemaplex. So
man, I haven't been there in ages.
It's a nice theater. They have like the cheapest matinee shows. I feel like it's actually like a matinee price. Like nowadays, like even matinees are sometimes $10 at some places, which is so bizarre. So it's not, like this is not a matinee price. It's just a regular ticket price, like a barely like I don't know. It's funny, but yeah, it's like $6 when you go before like I think 4 or 5 or something like that. So I was like, you know what, Morbius doesn't seem like a movie I need to watch with in a multiplex or their big one, and I don't need like
not real 3D or IMAX or nothing.
No, it's like we were talking briefly last week about like the weird the reviews are reading on them, and I was like, yeah, I'll just go watch this really quick. My expectations, and we'll get into it more. We're low, and I was like, I'll just go watch this really quick. Let's see how I like it. Got my popcorn and settled in, but. What's anything new going on with you in general? Any thoughts before we get started here?
We talked about it. Was that last week with it was either last week or the week before. We were talking about Ezra Miller and his arrest and all of that. This was kind of like a fast flicks thing. We're talking him being arrested and what that means for the movie, but we really didn't know much about what could happen at the time. But I saw earlier today that they I guess Warner Brothers had an emergency meeting to discuss the future of Ezra Miller and the Flash movie. So we don't know what's come out of that discussion,
Oh,
but like they're just like talking about it, and people in Twitter found out, and now Twitter is talking about it, and I'm like, wow, so there might be
interesting.
some legs to this.
Yeah, so I guess my original thought was correct that maybe they'll look into replacing him because I guess the reason obviously I agreed with you like compared to like things that most Hollywood actors do that's not it's not like a huge thing and not to say it's okay what he did
Mhm.
but I'm thinking like today's day and age like where you know companies are very like cautious about their PR and things like that and having a guy drunkenly going out and causing fights whether they're small or big fights at bars it's not a good look for the movie and they probably don't want that when he's doing like the press tour for the movie, they don't want a bunch of
Mm.
questions about his off film or off studios antics. So it could be interesting, and like it'll be crazy too because they moved like I said, and not anything to do with the this stuff that's happening. They already pushed the movie back a little bit.
Mhm.
Like if they really decide like hey, we're gonna move on from you, they could scrap the movie and reshoot a lot of stuff, or like, yeah, it'd be interesting how what they'll do. We'll find out though. I guess maybe they'll do like more of a listen. This is your final warning. You do anything again, you're out type of thing. Maybe. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll
But
see.
we'll see what happens. But yeah, let's get into our show. We are going to be talking about Morbius, giving our thoughts on this fantastic Oscar worthy movie that we're going to be talking about. We're going to get into it, and then I do have a couple of fast flicks I wanted to just spot off really quick before we get into Morbius. So the first one is about again we've talked about this movie so many times that's going to be coming out in the next couple of months. Is Thor, or not a couple of months in November. It's Thor: Love and Thunder, and they're beginning their press tour. And again, like it's kind of weird how they're beginning their press tour before they do a trailer. Um, and it's a lot of fans a lot of fans are really like confused about why they're doing the press tour before a trailer is released. And then then you also probably had like oh wait is concerns from fans like is something going on with the movie? Is it gonna is there troubles? That's why they're not really releasing a trailer, and there might be like uh the movie might be getting pushed back or whatever. But then Chris Hemsworth released a picture with Taika Waititi and Tessa Thompson showing that like yeah they're getting their the tour going, and then that actually got a lot of fans wondering if there's like a clue for the trailer that's about to drop, like the way they're positioning like their hands and stuff like that. So fans were thinking so Taika is holding up two fingers, Chris Hemsworth is holding up four, and then Tessa Thompson is doing like two on each side. So fans are thinking, okay, well maybe the trailer is going to drop April 11th, 2022. What are your thoughts on all of this, Carl?
Oh, that's a lot. Um, well, I do think again. By the way, you said November. It's actually July that's coming out. The
July,
movie.
sorry.
Yeah,
I think I mixed something else up in November.
yeah.
Something else is coming
Black
out.
Panther is
That's right.
November.
That's right. I mixed those things
And
up.
so we are closer, than that to actually getting the movie as long as nothing else gets delayed. But yeah, I take it. I mean, if they're starting the press tour now, that should be something to talk about, like a trailer coming relatively soon. I mean, Doctor Strange is less than a month away, and the movie for this is less than 3 months away. So we're gonna get a trailer any day now, really. Like I would expect within the next 2 weeks that we see a trailer, and probably no later than a month from now, because after Doctor Strange comes out, they're gonna want to have the next thing to get ready. They need time. Like, when was the Doctor Strange trailer dropped? It was what was it, like
Boy, I don't.
November? Um,
Yeah, sometime
no, it
it
was
was
no, it was
true.
after.
Oh, the
It was
first it came out the
Spider
day
Man.
that Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
December, and we have what 4 or 5 months in between. So we're gonna get something within the next 30 days, I would say, for as far as trailers go, and then these guys will actually have something to talk about and be questioned about for this press tour. So yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about how press tours work, but in general, I'm excited for the movie as everyone else is. I think of all of the Marvel releases this year, I'm probably most excited for this one.
Right.
Without thinking about it too hard, I think between this and Moon Knight and She-Hulk, those are like my top three for 2022 for Marvel.
Right. I'm gonna. It'll be interesting to see if this crazy fan theory of if it's over analyzing this picture, or they got it right with the April 11th, 2022. So that's in 5 days
Is that
essentially.
Monday?
It's a Monday, so I mean it would make sense. Monday is about usually like when they do stuff like that, like right, it's the beginning of the week where people are buzzing. They drop it like Monday night or something like that, and then that's like the as the press tour is going and everything crazy's happening and they get a lot more buzz out of it. So yeah, it'll be fun to see if that happens. And then finally, the other thing I wanted to talk about with, like I was saying, the other sci-fi stuff that's going to be popping up is the season series finale, or season series, or however you call it, of Stranger Things. It's
Series.
going to be
Yeah.
season 4 series finale, yeah, of season 4. It is. It got pushed back a couple of times. I feel like, because I thought I remember seeing originally it was going to be out in March and then in April. It got pushed back a little bit more. So now, to give people a quick, like, so people remember what happened in season 3, because season 3 was like what, 3 years ago, I think. So the way it ended was you had the when Joyce Byers and the kids, they moved out away from town because Hopper presumably died, so they wanted to get out of town. And then you saw 11. She's also presumably lost her powers. So yeah, the kids, it's gonna be interesting. Supposedly this show is not, like, while it's been 3 years since the season 3, it's only supposed to be 6 months after that season 3 finale. So that's going to be bizarre. Like Cliff is saying, where the kids are miraculously adults now. They are, like, Millie Bobby Brown. I think she's like 18 or 19 years old now. And all these other kids too. They're like 18, 19-year-old kids. I don't know how they're going to explain that off as them being still little, like 12-year-old, like 13-year-olds. That's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
This is rapid
So,
puberty.
right, I guess. I mean, kids nowadays do sometimes look older than they are, so you never know.
Salim,
So
you don't look a day over 18.
yeah, I guess I'm a very, very, very mature 18-year-old. I guess I can pass that, right? But yeah, so like I said, this movie or show, I think, got pushed back a couple of times, and then it was announced that they're doing like a 2-part season series finale. So the first part is now officially supposed to come out May 27th, uh, which is going to be like episodes. I think 1 to 5 is going to be May 27th, and then 6 to 9, so 9 full episodes for the season, is then going to come in volume 2, which is July 1st. And supposedly, because they said that this season is supposed to be longer, but it's only about one more episode longer than the other two um, like other 3 seasons, and they made it sound like it's going to be a lot longer. And the other thought process has been like, okay, so maybe some of these episodes are actually going to be super long, like they might be feature length episodes. So yeah, I'm interested to see how they end this. They supposedly are going to be changing up the entire like plot of the show too, like because obviously we had like the whole the what were they call what were they calling it, the demo.
Demogorgon.
Oh yeah, Demogorgon. I think they're gonna get away from that and do something new. Obviously, they're not gonna be. I've seen a couple of stills. I forgot to like capture them, but they're not all in like that 80s. I mean that 70s or whatever thing. I think they're gonna be more in the 80s now. Somehow, it seems like there's gonna be some Cold War like stuff. They're gonna be more like going out of like the U.S. I think at times. So we'll see. I'm interested to see how they end it. And I know a lot of people weren't too hyped on season 3. I can't remember if you said you watched past season 1.
No, yeah, right. I didn't watch past season 1. I thought it was a decent show. I thought it was cool, but it just didn't hook me enough to come back.
Right. So I mean, I'll watch season 4. Just I'm like one of those people sometimes where I like to see things through, even if there's like lulls and dead spots. There's only been one show that I just gave up on. It's like I'm done, and that was Walking Dead.
I was about to say, don't tell me you kept watching The Walking Dead.
No, that's the only show I just like. I'm like, screw this show. This show is a complete tease. It's they have like the whole like you have like 40 minutes of them just walking around, not doing anything, talking nonsense. And then the last 5 minutes of the show, it's like a big cliffhanger. and then it's something happened supposedly. And it's like, oh, come back next episode. We're going to be exciting. We're going to explain this. And nope, it's just another 40-minute drag fest of them not doing anything. It's like, you know what? I got a lot. Like, this was around the time when I had I had gone back, started school again. I was like, I just got a lot going on. After the show, I'm done, and I just never came back to it. But yeah, So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and watch the final season, see how it ends. I might go back and watch season 3 a little bit too, just to kind of remember some stuff. Like I said, it's been like 3 years since that came out. So, but yeah, I don't know if you're gonna plan on watching it at all, but I'll watch it, and maybe we could still talk about it.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into our main event here, our meat and potatoes of the show that we're doing today. It is Morbius. We're going to be talking about giving our thoughts on the show, and then also a couple of stuff that that's different that we originally thought it would be in the movie as well. But first, we're just going to play the final trailer just to give anyone a feel for the movie itself.
Michael Morbius.
Discover who you're meant to be. The bad guy.
Michael, what have you done?
I was trying to help people. But the cure.
It's a curse.
Michael.
I have powers that can only be described as superhuman. But there's a cost. Now, I face a choice. To hunt. And consume blood. Or die.
We all have monsters within us. It's up to us to control it.
What if I can't?
Michael Morbius. You've been given a gift.
Not exactly.
Time to let go of what you used to be.
Discover who you're meant to be.
All our lives, lives we've lived with death. Why shouldn't they know what it feels like for a change? Just accept who you are.
The bad guy.
Morbius. Holy water? Really?
Yeah. You ever see Lost Boys? Story of my life.
A new Marvel Legend arrives exclusively in movie theaters April 1st.
So that was the final trailer. Yes. So Carl, I'll start off. Just your overall thoughts on the movie, like your likes, if there were any likes, dislikes. Probably heavier on the dislikes between the conversations we've had privately. Yeah, go ahead and shoot off your thoughts here.
Yes, so this movie was a complete dumpster fire. Was pretty bad. This is definitely the worst movie I've seen this year, and one of the worst Marvel associated movies, because it's not an MCU movie. Um, it's not made by Marvel Studios. It's 100% Sony, made in association with Marvel. But despite that, it's still probably one of the worst Marvel movies that I can even think of that I've seen. The acting wasn't the worst in the world. I mean, just like between Jared Leto and Matt Smith, and maybe Tyrese wasn't all that great, but uh, in general, it really wasn't the acting performances. It's just more of the plot. So I'm watching this movie, and I'm either doing one of two things. I'm either like watching it like this, just rubbing my head back and forth, or I'm literally like verbally saying, but why? Why do that? Or why is this happening? Or why would they want this scene or want that dialogue? Or what are they trying to set up? Or why is that happening here? And yeah, it was just, it was just, it didn't work. And like we'll get into it. But they delayed this movie to do reshoots or re-edits and stuff like that. And I wonder like if they thought this was the best version, because it just wasn't good. There's very few things that were good in this movie. I think the visuals of the transformations were like decent to impressive, like not necessarily the best, but um the visual effects of their transformations, the blood and stuff, lighting and all of those things were fine to actually kind of good. But uh just the usage of the characters, the usage of the space, the license, really, it almost feels like as we've been saying, like Morbius really doesn't deserve a movie, and them trying to flesh this out. Like the plot of this movie is so basic and bare bones. It's more of, we as Sony want to use our Marvel Spider-Man license that we have access to all of these characters, and we just need something out there. It doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter who it is. We just gotta cookie cutter the story to whatever character, and we'll push it out there as a movie. It's so uninteresting of a movie, super basic with all of the tropes with between the relationships of like Milo and Morbius, and then his girlfriends, and it's just, yeah, like, yeah, exactly. I actually hate origin movies, with, yes, exactly, Iron Man being a pretty great exception. I actually hate origin movies in general. And this one did not do any favors to change that. Um, yeah, the plot is just so basic. It's really one of the worst things, is that it's just not an interesting or compelling story. whatsoever. The only kind of like slightly respectable thing is earlier in the movie, um, just how they approached the disabled uh, of Morbius and Milo, and even the fact that his name was, what was his name? His actual name? Do you remember?
Uh,
Lucian.
Lucian, yeah,
Yeah, something like that. The fact that he called him Milo because like that was
yeah.
like the last of all the other ones are Milo, just because it just makes it
The
easier
first,
for him. So you don't have to
yeah,
memorize someone's
the,
name. It doesn't have to get emotionally attached to the new person by remembering their name. It's just like, yeah, you're just Milo number 3. It's kind of like on The Simpsons where there's Snowball and then Snowball dies and it's just Snowball 2, right? And it just like keep cycling. So like I thought that was okay. And just their portrayal of these characters being disabled and going through these diseases, I thought that was fine. I thought that was okay. Mostly I didn't like the whole scene of Milo getting beat up by those kids. Like I understand the purpose of it, but just like again, just kind of cookie cutter sort of stuff. And it was just like I lost the disconnection pretty much at that point, and like from that point on for the rest of the movie. Um, yeah, that's a good warm up discussion. How about you, Salim?
yeah. The whole like the plot was weak. Like it just seemed like, again, we've talked in the past about some of these movies because Marvel has the rights to them, so they just want to churn out movies so they can continue to keep the rights to these characters. Um, it's like cringy scenes, multiple cringy scenes. There's time I'm saying those, like I'm genuinely like, you said you were kind of going, rubbing your forehead out. There's multiple times I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is going on? Like, why are they doing this right now? Why? Like, no explanation for a lot of stuff. And I'm point I was gonna make that Cliff just did. Like, one of the the Lucian, the main character, like, he wants to obviously wants a cure as well for his illness, like the way Morbius ends up getting his cure because he sees, like, he's lively and stuff like this. And um and all of a sudden he gets the cure, and also he's just a bad guy. There's never a mention that there's a bad person in this character, but he's just a bad guy now because obviously in the comics he is bad, right? But there's no build up and explanation of that. So if you never read anything about the comics and you're just kind of interested in, watching these type of movies, you wouldn't have any understanding why he's also just a bad guy here. So it's like, it's kind of like the Zack Snyder critique I have. Like, the way he did like Justice League and things like that, he made it where, like, okay, you would understand some of like the hidden messages and stuff, like in Zack, and not to turn away from this movie, it's just an example I want to give. Like, the scene where in Justice League, uh, where, or not Justice League, Batman versus Superman, where Batman has that like vision of like this like dystopian place or whatever, and all these things are happening, and then Superman is coming down, and like he's like bleeding the world or whatever, and you see like apocalypses, um creatures flying everywhere and stuff. Now, if you had no background of the comics or who Dark Side, sorry, not Apocalypse, Dark Side's creatures flying around from Apocalypse, if you had no background knowledge of like the comics or what the character is, you'd be confused. And what that scene is supposed to tell you is because in the comics, Darkseid can put images and things in characters' minds. So that's a scene and image that Darkseid is placing in Batman's mind, Bruce Wayne's mind, to try to manipulate him. But like you would understand that without any background knowledge. And same thing with here with Morbius. It was just like, what the hell are like, like if you don't know anything about this character, why is he doing this? And like I said, yeah, this really bad acting. Like the only thing I liked the way they made Morbius look. Like that's like for myself, if I ever envisioned a live action Morbius, it's the way he would look. And although if you want to throw up the image really quick, um, it's a little dark just because that's the best I could get. Looks like a little lighter here, but yeah, like I figured this is what Morbius would look like, a live action Morbius. I like that,
Yeah,
but
it totally looks good. Like I said, like the visuals of like the visual effects, they go from being pretty, okay to actually looking really good. Like Morbius in general, he looks good. Matthew Smith's what's his Hunger, right? I actually don't like the
yeah,
way Hunger looked at all.
right. No, right, 100%. Like he was the exception on the way he looked. Like, but yeah, it's no build up. Like you said, like there's no character build up, Cliff. Like you said, there's no really you understand who this character is. No background of why they're this way. Um, yeah, and like I said, just a lot of cringy stuff. Like the one of the cringiest of cringe scenes is when Lucian Hunger is doing what I don't know where he's at. Like, is he in a club? He's in like in a powder room. He's doing that little dancing thing, doing it like,
Right.
what the hell? Like, what is this?
He's
This is
feeling
like a
himself.
this is like a B flick. This is a B flick. This is what this is. This like if I went into this movie and expected to just like watch a shitty B flick movie, I probably would have enjoyed it more. Because that's what you expect when you watch B flicks. You expect like a lot of cringy, idiotic things like, "Oh, this is funny. Look at this. This is hilarious. Like, well,
Mhm.
look at what they're doing." That's what you expect. But it's not. This is not supposed to be a B flick, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
no, I'm watching him like either Matthew Smith is like over here just clowning around and having fun and just being captured on camera, like he's ad libbing and he's thinking like this is like really good, or he's such a great actor that he made it seem like he's having a good time, knowing that this is really stupid. Like I don't know which one it is because I haven't seen a whole lot of Matthew Smith stuff, but I feel like he has a reputation, and I would say it's pretty positive. And then bringing him in to do this role, and then having him sit there and do all this dancing and stuff is like, what? Like you could have used him for like something really great. Like he can bring himself, Matthew Smith himself can bring people, put butts in seats to watch this movie because he has a fan base. And then this is what you do with him, and he's kind of like between Jared Leto and Matt Smith, like they both could put seats, like people in seats to watch this movie, but it's not a great movie. And then this is how you use them. It's kind of like
yeah,
you really squandered this, Sony.
yeah. Like yeah, blunder is the correct word. But yeah, so let's get into a little bit of other stuff that uh like the movie had like the plot holes and things like that, but then they changed the plot from the trailer, deleted scenes. One of the first ones, not in the final cut, the MCU reference where Spider-Man, if I'll just want to throw that up really quick. So that's not in this movie.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, they like there's quite a few things like in the base movie, like we watched the trailer. This is from the first trailer, the official trailer, this screenshot. So we were watching this, and and you remember, Celine, we've been talking about it for months. Like, how are they gonna connect Spider-Man and then all of these different Spider-Man references? This one's Tobey Maguire. The Daily Bugle logo was Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, but then they had the Oscorp logo in the trailer that was from the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, and then they had what else? They had the Vulture and all that from then this whole plot point of murderers from the Tom Holland Spider-Man. So it's like, how are they gonna have three different Spider-Man references, from three different universes all in one movie? And how is this gonna work? And is this in the Venom verse or is this not in the Venom verse? And it was just so confusing. And then we get the final movie, and that scene is completely not at all in the movie, as well as just they don't even mention Spider-Man between like in the main part of the movie whatsoever. It's just the only Spider-Man related things in the whole movie are the Daily Bugle. I believe there was like two or three shots of the actual physical newspaper of the Daily Bugle, and then they had Horizon Labs, which is like I guess at this point it's only a comic book reference, because I don't think it wasn't in the Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield. I don't believe it was, and maybe I don't think it was in Tom Holland either. So I think it's now a thing, but it's like a Spider-Man thing, the Horizon Labs. But the Oscorp reference was not. That was gone. They cut that out as well. So it's really weird. Like again, like as far as the base movie, we'll talk about the post credits later because it does come back to some other stuff. But as far as the actual base movie, Spider-Man is just there's no Spider-Man whatsoever.
Yeah, like you said, there's no connection there. I know they also altered the final cut with Milo. There's if you want to pop that picture up really quick there. So they altered this in the movie. I know you had some thoughts on here.
Yeah, so like, and this again is coming from the trailer, and this is a part of the movie. This is in the movie where it is Milo walking towards. They're in the subway, and Milo's walking towards Morbius. They had already started the fight. They had been fighting, and they just moved towards where this train is. This entire scene in the movie, Milo is transformed into his vampire self. So this is part of where it's kind of good that they did the visual effects for everybody, like Morbius, Milo, and so on. All of the visual effects were digital. There were no physical practical effects. They didn't use any like makeup or any prosthetics or anything like that. Everything was done in post. So you can shoot the shot like they did with Matt Smith, and he's in his regular clothes and he looks like his regular self. And we get this for the trailer, but then in the movie, he's actually transformed. It's one of those bait and switch sort of things. One of the just like Infinity War, the infamous Marvel trailers and stuff like that makes sense and it works really well. So you don't give away too much of the movie, and I get it, and it's fine. But this scene in particular, that entire stretch where he makes that walk and he's completely transformed. So that's a whole nother transformation that's just not in the trailer. Which that one's not so bad. But you know what? When I was getting these screenshots, Salim, they completely changed this movie, like as far as the actual plot and how the story that grows and stuff. One of the things that I noticed is that in the trailer, the first trailer, the fight with like Morbius, he's on the boat, he's transforms, he's beating up and killing all the guys and stuff. Right after that, it's Tyrese talking to Morbius saying, Dr. Michael Morbius, you've been missing for the last 2 months and you showed up on the boat, like it's up until the boat showed up on shore, like it washed up. In the movie, completely different, where
Right.
they purposely float to the boat for this experiment. He kills everybody and then sets off the Mayday. Then what's her name, Bancroft is knocked out, so he calls for Mayday and then jumps off the boat. And then the movie takes place over the course of maybe like a couple of days for
Right.
what it's
Right.
worth. But then in the trailer, he's saying like you've been gone for 2 months. Like, okay, there's like a lot of dialogue from just different for Tyrese as well as Morbius. That's different from the trailer and the movie.
Right, and there's also that one line from Morbius that it wasn't in this movie. It was, or maybe I missed it because I did zone out a couple of times. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
It's he says like, "Look, you save people's lives, Doctor Morbius. You don't take
Mhm.
them." That
Yep.
wasn't in this movie. Like when
Right.
he's like, it's like, what happened to that? Like
Yeah, they
you
completely
like
changed it.
you have to wonder if somebody like tried to sabotage this movie at the editing room.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, let's just start cutting a bunch of stuff out and make this confusing as hell for anyone that watches
Hmm.
this. It's like I don't know. It's like it's so weird. It just completely like makes zero sense. It made zero sense. A lot of it, and like now we'll get into the post credit scene that even it mucks up a lot. Not only for this movie, but like what happened in No Way Home it mucks things up.
Hmm.
The first scene obviously is where um so you have Adrian Toomes who's played by Michael Keaton. He's in the first Spider-Man. He's the Vulture in there, and and they showed like that purple of the multiverse break like that they showed in No Way Home. Um, they show that coming up, and all of a sudden he appears in the Morbius universe, and it's like, wait, how is he here? like that doesn't make any sense. Like the point of these characters going into the MCU, like the different Spider-Man villains, was because they were looking for Peter Parker, right?
Because
That's
it
why,
was because everyone that knew who Peter Parker was Spider-Man
right,
were the ones that got pulled into the MCU.
right. So why would he get pulled into this? Like it doesn't make. And then how is he like he's supposedly there now permanently? How? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, and what's weird about it to me is that, like, I mean, I don't know about permanently, but in the very least, he is a Spider-Man character, so he is Sony's character for cinematic rights or whatever, but it originated in the MCU. I still imagine that even if Kevin Feige doesn't have the authority to say no or doesn't need to write off and say, hey, you can have them back, he would still be relatively upset that they are taking this character out of the MCU because he was in jail and they were setting up the plot points. They already had the Scorpionish character in the Homecoming post-credit scenes, and now he's not in the MCU anymore, and they did it in such a poor way. And speaking of which, it's another thing that they changed with this movie is that, like, that screenshot of Adrian Toomes of that we have here, the that scene there, he's looking back at Morbius. Morbius is getting arrested, and they're like crossing in jail, and he's like talking to him. So originally, the movie was supposed to have Toombs in jail or in this scene kind of talking and meeting Morbius for this first time and convincing him like, hey, you need to like how he broke out of jail was supposed to be motivated by Toombs, where in the movie it was Milo that went in and gave him the real blood and he got powered up and busted out. So
Right,
this whole they changed that completely. There's dialogue that is from Toombs in the trailer that's not in the final cut of the post credit scene, and then they filmed the actual post credit scenes of him just being in jail, and that was the whole goofy thing of, oh wow, I hope they have good food here. Okay, well, and then he gets out of jail because there's no Adrian Toombs in this universe.
right.
Um, and then the second post credit scene, which made less sense than the first one, or did it? I don't know. Maybe which one makes less sense to you? Him coming to the universe because of the Doctor Strange spell, or the the whole let's team up to beat Spider-Man, and him having his full-on Vulture suit.
They're about equal, because like the first scene I talked about how it mucks up No Way Home, but then the second scene, it's just weird because it's like they haven't really addressed Spider-Man in the entire movie or even in this universe. I know there's constant rumors about which Spider-Man is supposed to be part of. Is it supposed to be Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, or is it supposed to be Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man? There's no talk about that. And then finally, like the suit, like the technology is the Chitauri tech. Where did how do you make this? He's not a scientist even. In the MCU, obviously in the comics, he's an engineer, but he's not in MCU. So how do you even know how to make this suit? So like it just it's just like, where did this come from? Like how? Just how? like like what is going on?
Explain yourself. So like what's funny is I mean, and I don't know 100% sure, but I think if I remember correctly, when Venom 2, the Let There Be Carnage came out, we had that whole discussion about the whole Spider-Man aspect of the post-credit scene and so on. And if I remember correctly, I believe Andy Serkis, who was the director of Venom 2, said that Venom, that Eddie Brock and Venom, well, Eddie Brock doesn't know who Spider-Man is, and that his universe, the Venom universe, does not have a Spider-Man at that time.
Right.
They didn't have a Spider-Man. Now we have this Venom movie, which is directly referencing things that happened in San Francisco, the Venom 2 movie, and the director directly saying that this is in the same universe as the Venom movie, but also saying that there is a Spider-Man in this universe that we just haven't, like I said, we don't know if it's Tobey Maguire, we don't know if it's Andrew Garfield or anyone else, but now there is all of a sudden there is a Spider-Man in the Venom universe, but yet Venom doesn't know anything about it, or someone's giving us poor information is the point I'm trying to make here. Either there isn't a Spider-Man and we just had to go with what Venom 2 was established and Andy Serkis, what he said and so on, or there is a Spider-Man and we just haven't seen him yet and they're just not using him. And I was going to go into that, Cliff, is that I would like for it to be Miles. Personally, I would like for them to not do Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I would like for them to do Miles if they're going to have a Spider-Man in this universe. Let it be Miles Morales, because that way at least we can try to make the excuse of, okay, we have a live action Miles Morales. We can possibly bring him to the MCU side to cross over with Tom Holland at some point, just for funsies, and then you can go back. Or maybe if you're done with Miles, you send him off to the MCU or whatever. But that's what I would like to see. But I think what they're trying to set up is having Andrew Garfield come back, because a lot of the plot points of what they're doing with the Sinister Six side of it, the whole trying to set up the Sinister Six movies and all of the other things is very similar to what they were already trying to do with Andrew Garfield and what would have been Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield, that didn't work out for various reasons. But I think they want Andrew Garfield back. He is, for better or worse, he's younger than Tobey Maguire. He didn't get a trilogy, unlike Tom and Tobey. So I think they are set. I personally think they're setting up Andrew, but I would like for them to set up Miles instead.
Yeah, like the Sinister Six obviously is the main thing, and like another thing with that second post credit scene where he talks about like the Vulture talks about Spider Man. I must be here because of Spider Man. He's a
Mhm.
problem. Like I think we should team up and we can solve it. It's like why is Morbius teaming up with them?
Intriguing.
Why? What reason? Yeah, what reason? He doesn't know Spider Man.
He
He has
didn't
no
even know
connection with
him.
Spider Man. Like why is he? Why is he intrigued about teaming up? and like and obviously in this movie they show him to be like a good guy in a sense, right?
Right.
Like like Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, he's already established as a villain. So it doesn't make sense why Morbius would join this guy. Yeah, it just like is he gonna have like a heel turn? Morbius is gonna have a WWE heel turn out of nowhere. Just it's just he's gonna come belt Spider-Man with a with his title belt, and back in the
But
head.
you know what? What's one thing that's like I don't know if I wouldn't call it interesting, but maybe open ended, is that at the end of the movie, the actual base movie of Morbius, two things happen, which I was actually confused at first. But when Milo attacks Bancroft and they're on the top of the roof, and Morbius goes there, he finds her, and they, whatever they're saying, and he goes in for the kiss or whatever. And I saw something happen. I guess I blinked, I didn't see it all, but then he bites her, and I was like, "Oh, okay, she must be sacrificing herself because he's running low. He's been taking the artificial blood, and she's
Yeah,
sacrificing
she
herself. She's gonna
ingests his blood.
die." And he ingests her blood. He gets powered up, and he fights Milo. But apparently, she bit his lip and
Right.
injected his blood, and then
Right.
she ended up turning even after he ate drank her blood. So she ended up turning and became a Morbius vampire, just like Morbius, and that's
Well,
okay,
well,
whatever.
that'll be interesting. Well, that'll be interesting because we'll see if she's actually like Morbius. Because in the comics, she's a regular vampire.
Yeah.
She turns into a regular vampire from like I think I'm not sure if it's because of from Dracula or how, but she turns into a vampire herself later, eventually in the comics. But like yeah, it's not like she's not a living vampire like Morbius is because she does die. They show her dying, right? So she comes back and she's a vampire because she ingested Morbius's blood. Um, the other thing, hey, I'm going to take an exception to Cliff's comment. Look, I love comics. Like I read them. I don't read them in my mom's basement, but I read them. All right. So no shots at people who read comics here. All right. Cliff, no, we're not going to do that. Comics are cool, and I like the Sinister Six, but the Sinister Six is nothing without Spider-Man. And
Mhm.
furthermore, it seems to me like this whole Sinister Six plot, they're trying to make it like the Suicide Squad. Do you get that
Maybe.
feeling?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like in theory. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be like an Amanda Waller type character to bring them together.
Yeah.
Perhaps like Norman Osborn, like not transformed or something like that, just to throw something out there. But yeah, I mean, it has similar vibes, certainly. But you know what's funny about the Sinister Six is that obviously it's a cool concept, but you know just as well as I do that it never actually works. Like
Right.
they don't work and actually beat Spider-Man ever, because then that would mean that would Spider-Man book would have been over a long time ago. So
Right.
as much as
And
they're hyping up a Sinister Six movie to be like some super cool epic showdown, at the end of the day, he's still got to beat six people, and there's gonna be probably like a really lame way, like how half of them, like Rhino always loses in some kind of lame way. It's never a knockdown slug out, you know, fight between Spider-Man and Rhino. Rhino is going to do something really stupid or fall for a really stupid trick, and Electro is going to do something really stupid, and then Vulture is going to do something really stupid. The only good fights within the Sinister Six is like Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, Doc Ock, and Kraven. Like those ones, they give Spider-Man a good fight. The other ones are just like too stupid to actually function on the team, and they end up taking each other out. Or if they do break it up one-on-one, Spider-Man's going to beat them and then move on to the next one. So as much as the Sinister Six movie, where they all take on Spider-Man, sounds great, it's not going to be like Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home levels of awesome. Even the Lizard was dumb in No Way Home. He, like it's not gonna be that awesome. But
Right.
before we move on, I want to make another point. So the movie ended with, or like going ons with the movie, is that Morbius is taking this artificial blood because he didn't want to drink the blood of actual humans because he had this moral conscience going. But the artificial blood was getting less and less effective as time went on. And by the end of the movie, he was like, by tomorrow, I will either die because I don't drink any human blood, or I'll have to consume human blood by tomorrow. And then the last person we see him consume is Bancroft. That being said, is he consuming human blood now going forward?
Yeah,
Like, because he
I mean,
can't use
is he breaking
artificial
into?
blood.
Yeah, is he breaking into blood banks now? I guess I don't know what he's doing. Like, another point on the Sinister Six. So, like, it's interesting, right? In the comics, there's so many various versions of the Sinister Six. Like, there's like a Sinister Seven. There's a Sinister 12. There's like mixed like Sinister Six teaming up with six different villains. Like, so the original Sinister Six was Doctor Octopus, Electro, Kraven the Hunter. Now they're doing a Kraven the Hunter movie. Sandman and the Vulture. That's the original Sinister Six, right? Um, and then, like I said, they have like these other various versions where like Sandman is the leader of the Sinister Six, and then, like I said, the Sinister Seven, where there's different, like completely different characters in general. Like there's like a Hobgoblin, Beetle, again, Mysterio is part of that. Scorpion, Shocker, again, Vulture is part of that. So it's like a mix and mash, and then there's like a big, like I said, the big one, Sinister 12, where there's like 12 different villains, and when I say I'm referencing like Suicide Squad, like that's what I feel like they're trying to do. I don't know. It just, if they're trying to make these guys like all anti-heroes and just like trying to root for the Sinister Six, that's just dumb. Like, rooting for the Sinister Six is dumb. Like, you're not supposed to like them, like rooting for them. Like, you may like them. Like, I like the characters, Spider-Man villain characters. I like them in the sense that like these are like, yeah, I like these characters, but I'm not rooting for them to like win, right?
Mhm.
That's not what you're supposed to do. But yeah, it just, I don't know. Like I said, they screwed up. So like, I remember the Amazing Spider-Man 2. They really wanted, and you brought up Andrew Garfield. Like they really wanted to do a third movie with Sinister Six involved, for the Amazing Spider-Man 3. I think that's what they wanted to build up, or just a standalone in general. So that's
Mhm.
why they added all these random villains. Like they added the Rhino. That's why they brought in um, Green Goblin as well as Electro. They wanted to have these, characters established, and then they teased like Doctor Octopus, and I think they teased the. I got
Mm.
they teased like two other characters that I
Yeah, I
can't
don't remember
remember
the
at the
other
top
one.
of my
I
head.
definitely, was it Vulture? Wasn't it
I
Vulture
think
wings
so.
in
Like,
there?
I can't remember in the end scene, like when whoever is walking across, you see a bunch of like different suits in the back,
Mhm.
which is basically letting you know that. So one of them was like the Vulture, Octopus's arms. I think one was the Vulture, and I can't remember who the third or the sixth one was. I can't remember on top of my head. But yeah, so they've been wanting to do the Sinister Six for a while now. Like it's been like something like since like maybe a couple years before the Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out. So yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. My frustration is just piling up. Where like Spider-Man is easily my favorite like comic book character, superhero in general. And I was excited when MCU took over Spider-Man. I was excited to see what they would do with it. And I didn't agree with everything they did with it, but now I'm really excited to see what they're going to do in the next 3 movies, because they're bringing him back, like I said, to like what he's supposed to be. Um, and I wish, like, a lot of these characters, the MCU had the ability to use these characters. Like, I wish they could use Kraven the Hunter.
Mhm.
I wish maybe Morbius was part of the MCU. Like, they could have Morbius in one of these movies or something of various another. You know, like, I wish they had these things in MCU to utilize, but obviously they don't, man. They don't
I
have
don't I
that,
don't think
and
it's unreasonable that they can't. Like, sure, Sony pulled Vulture out of the MCU. I mean, he's their character,
right,
but it's just at the same time, that Spider-Man, Tom Holland, is MCU, and
right,
I don't. It doesn't seem like to me that they're going to pull Tom Holland out of the MCU to be in their separate universe, because they probably would have done it after No Way Home to have him be in their universe, as opposed to definitively, oh, he's staying in the MCU and he's going to have more MCU movies. Like, I think they're going to still possibly have, like, maybe an MCU version of Hobgoblin or Green Goblin
right.
or something like that, and still have, he has a huge, rogues gallery, that, but I think there's still going to be some good rogues gallery villains for the MCU, and then it's just whether or not Sony is going to, like, hey, that movie that with that villain that worked out really good, let's pull him out of there and get him over here. They're probably going to want to do that, but it's not to say that the versions of Morbius and Electro and all of these other ones are definitively going to have to go over to the MCU to be used. They might have, like, variants, sort of thing, where the Jamie Foxx Electro is one variant, and then there might be another one that's, grassroots from the MCU, and maybe that one's, s- you know, still Jamie Foxx. Maybe it's another actor entirely. Who knows at this point what they're going to do? But I haven't lost hope, in the Marvel Studios side of it, that, like, hey, we're working together and you're not going to do some stupid stuff. We're going to make sure this movie is worth watching.
Yeah, and Matthew said give up Venom and symbiotes. I think, I mean, symbiotes are supposedly going to be in one of the next 3 movies,
Yeah.
because they just show the little symbiote somehow staying in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that'll be interesting. So that's going to be part of, and obviously they'll probably go a completely different angle. It's probably not going to be Eddie Brock related. It's going to be completely different that they do. But yeah, like I said, like, I mean, I can understand Sony doesn't want to give up, like, giving an ability to make money off these characters. I understand that, but, like, let MCU have creative rights over these characters. Let them, because they're doing a good job. Like, I mean, they've had misses. MCU hasn't been perfect by any means. I'm not going to say they have. They've had some stuff that they could have done better with. But for the most part, they've done a really good job. Like, in the grand scheme of things, especially building up characters and doing different things and explaining good storylines and making you really, like, into, like, the every bits and parts of what they're doing, like how they're getting these shows getting started, the Disney Plus and all this stuff. You're very intrigued by everything that they do. Sony, on the other hand, you're like, okay, what are they doing with this character? What's going on? What are they gonna do? Like, Kraven the Hunter is like a cool villain, but now I'm like, oh my god, what are they gonna do with this guy? It's like, what are they planning here? So, yeah, like I said, as we wrap up here, I think, I don't know how much more thoughts I have, other than just, like, being angry that this movie exists. And we've mentioned it a couple of times, a complete dumpster fire. I don't. It's just weird. There's people that really like this movie too. It's like, how? Like how?
We weren't watching the same movie we were.
I don't know. It is what it is. But any final thoughts as we get out of here?
I just think, like in general, Sony can do a good job, but it's just that they need creative direction. Like it's just like DC. DC and Sony need a Kevin Feige. They don't need him particularly, but they need some one person that has a trusted creative vision for what the entire universe is. Uh, because the MCU is like truly blessed to have Kevin to be the one person that said, "Hey, we're going in this direction. These are the stories I want." Like he's getting these directors and directors that have the freedom to do whatever they want, but he also is telling them, "Hey, you need to just do this. Like as far as we need this plot point and this plot point, how you get there is all up to you. As long as this happens and this happens, do whatever you want." So Kevin Feige is guiding everything and overseeing everything. It's like with DC, they got 1,000 different universes all in the movies, and it's confusing for the fans. And then Sony just has no idea what they're doing. They just know they have something valuable, and they want to try to make as much money off of it as possible, but they don't have the creative direction or the talent to direct, to produce, to write these movies to make sense. They're just like trying to milk it for what it's worth. And I understand Sony's perspective because they don't want to sit there and um, continue to do these co-op movies with Marvel because you have to split the money and stuff like that. Like you don't want to do that as Sony, but you also don't want a situation where you are pulling out Spider-Man out of the MCU because people like Tom Holland, they know that these movies are really good because of the MCU. Your track record for Spider-Man movies has not been great for 3 straight Spider-Man movies, without the MCU's help. Uh, People would be really pissed and they would probably boycott it if you try to reboot again and all of this stuff. So it's kind of like, well, we want to make money using this stuff, but we can't always work with the Marvel Studios because they're taking a cut of this money, and they're getting promotion. We're helping them as a company doing this stuff, even though we own the rights to this license. So I get what they're trying to do, but they need to find someone that is passionate about Spider-Man and the Spider-Man universe to oversee everything and say, no, a Madam Web movie does not make sense. Let's not do that. Let's not have a Craven the Hunter movie, but we can do Venom and make it make sense. We can have our own Spider-Man because, like, if the DC universe can have 3 different Batman things going on at the same time, you can have 2 different Spider-Mans or 3 different Spider-Man things going on at the same time, and have the MCU Spider-Man and have a Sony Spider-Man and have an animated universe Spider-Man, and it all makes sense, and it doesn't have to be super crossover, a mega heavy, and then you don't have to have a Venom without Spider-Man as a villain. You don't have to have a Morbius without Spider-Man. You don't have to have Craven and making him seem like he's a hero when he's definitely not. He needs Spider-Man too. So that's really what their problem is that they don't want to have multiple Spider-Mans. Maybe we'll see that change with the whole Andrew Garfield rumors and stuff, but that's just how I feel. It's very fixable from Sony. It's just whether or not they feel like going down the path and putting in the work to make it work.
Yeah, it's about vision. They need a good vision. They need a strong vision, someone that can bring in, like, lead them down the right path, like you said, with the Kevin Feige. bring, like, I think they have a Kevin Feige, but I mean, I don't know how involved she is, um, in all of it.
Or
Like, is
Amy
she?
Pascal,
Yeah, I think she is supposed to be the
um,
Kevin Feige
I guess.
of this, but I don't know how involved she is. Like, I don't know how much she is supposedly, doing as far as each movie is concerned, and how much involvement she has in, like, in creative rights and things like that. And I know Disney also has. They're also kind of stringent, MCU, that is, in how they want directors to do these movies. Now, they do give the directors certain liberties as far as their own vision, but they do have, like, ideas, like, look, this is how we want it because we need it to make sense.
Right.
We need this movie to flow, so then it connects to the rest of the universe. That makes sense. Like, you can't just throw together some bullshit and throw it against the wall, and it's like, this is it. This is what we got.
Hmm.
And that's what Sony's doing here. They don't really have a proper vision, right? Like, because, like, Venom, like there's no connection really, Venom to Morbius. Like, what? Like, it's just like a random movie, right? There's just random characters that are being produced and they're being thrown together, and they eventually want to do something together with them. Maybe they do, they don't. I don't know. It's like we're talking about Sinister Six, but, like, yeah, they just need a proper vision, and, like, yeah, we'll give you creative rights on certain aspects, but yeah, this is how we want you to do it because we need this movie to make sense, and we need it to connect to all these other movies that we're trying to do. Simple as that. And they need somebody to come in that has that creative chops to be able to do that. So,
Yeah, if someone didn't, like, if you're completely dark and you just watch Morbius, if someone didn't directly tell you that this is in the same universe as the Venom movie, you would have absolutely no idea. Because all
right,
people would say,
right.
the incident in San Francisco. Okay, you just like, oh, wonder what happened in San Francisco. Well, they didn't say anything else about it, so oh well.
Right, right. So it's whatever. Like I said, we'll wrap up here. Obviously, we appreciate people tuning in. We appreciate if you like the video. If you have any thoughts on Morbius, please tweet us. Our handles are right there. I'm at Salim_BJ Oops, and Carl is at Ninja Chortle. Obviously, tune into all our previous episodes that we've done. We've talked about so many different movies, sci-fi movies, Marvel, DC shows, and all that other stuff. We have a lot of Barroom Network in general. Has a lot of different great shows that they do covering the Bears, the Bulls, the Sox, White Sox, that is, the Cubs. So yeah, please tune in to all those shows as well. And we'll be back next week. Until next time.
All right, you guys have a great evening.